Hi, how's it going? This is Resident of Collard for YouTube, and I'm back with my final Here Comes the Bride video for Dark Shadows. It's Roger Collins marries Cassandra Blair Collins. No, I did not say that name incorrectly either. You heard that correctly. Cassandra Blair Collins. Now, there's a lot of interesting things about this. So, Victoria Winters goes to an antique shop that we don't get to see and buys a portrait, and she brings it back to Collinwood, and it is none other than a portrait of Angelique. Yes, yes, that Angelique, the Angelique that Barnabas was married to in 1795, the same one that cursed him. So there are two people who want to buy this portrait. One is Professor Stokes, played by Sarah David, who is related to Ben Stokes. He's descended from him. And he's a professor. He makes decent money, but not a lot of money. And he's outbidded by, surprise, surprise, Roger Collins. And you're sort of like, okay, well, what's Roger crazy? It's like, why would you want this? And slowly but surely, you're sort of realizing, and it doesn't take you long to realize that Roger's sort of becoming possessed by the portrait of Angelique. Here's what's interesting. I'm going to make a defense for Cassandra. I know I'm probably going to be the only one. I'm going to burn in hell for this. I'm coming, Diablos. I don't believe Cassandra was initially Angelique right away. Hear me out on this. Keep in mind, Nicholas, yes, Nicholas Blair puts, gives, sells the antique shop to the, or sells the, the portrait of Angelique to the antique shop owners. So he gives it to them or sells it to them because Stokes calls him on this. Now, we hear that Stokes has a new student coming after much debate about the portrait, because keep in mind, it's important to note that Victoria Winters heard Roger talking in the drawing room, and he opens the door, and he sees her eavesdropping. He's yelling at her. Turns out he's yelling at her as Joshua Collins. Now, this is not the first time he's yelled at somebody as Joshua Collins. We know earlier he yelled at Naomi. Sorry, I'm doing it too. He yelled at Elizabeth, called her Naomi, and Jim Bennett just bammed him in the face. Like, no, no. It brought Roger back to reality. This time, it's a phone that brings Roger back to reality, and Roger's got the portrait in his hands, and she's like, I'm not letting you, like, I love Vicky's stance here. She's not letting him leave with it. And finally he puts it back on the easel, and she goes up to bed thinking he's gonna, okay, you're gonna go for a nightcap, that's fine. But she soon comes back realizing, wait, I can't just leave him back down there, which I love this. And he's gone. The portrait's gone, he's gone. Now, there's a lot of interesting things that happen. Roger does check into the inn. Roger also goes to Professor Stokes and tries to get him to buy the portrait. The portrait disappears. But before that, you hear that Stokes has a new student coming over. So the portrait goes back to Collinwood. It just goes back there by itself. No one takes it back. Angelique's powers put it back. And Barnabas is like, look, and there's the portrait of Angelique. So when Cassandra arrives, we know it's Laura Parker in a black wig. She's smiling, she's happy. Her and Roger are officially hitched, right? The suitcases, we've seen the suitcases at Roger's back. He's like, Liz, He's all happy. This is the happiest I've seen Roger, you know. I could only, could you, the smile he gives, that's the smile he would have given Liz if Liz would have gave him permission to send David away. Um, that's, God. But, so he's happy. Cassandra, you know, is like high, and you have Barnabas who thinks she's Angelique. Elizabeth, you know, Barnabas and Elizabeth are against this. All right. So they leave Cassandra in the drawing room. She's by herself. And she's looking at Angelique's portrait. She's not like, she's just like looking at her hair like, oh, I think Cassandra's wondering, I wonder what I would look like with that hair. And then the next scene, she's staring at the portrait. The portrait's staring at her. You have Angelique goes in, Cassandra's body, and then it's Angelique. I really think that's what happens because now I could be wrong, and if you disagree, please do. Because you notice up until that point, she's not really being Angelique until after that. Then that's when you hear the laugh, and that's really interesting. So, I like how they're wanting to go. Roger has never been more happier to go on a honeymoon in his life than with Cassandra. No offense, you know, hey, why not? You know, you get married. Let's go on a honeymoon. Let's blow this popsicle stand. Who wouldn't want to do that, right? But some way, somehow, Cassandra sprains her ankle. Julie wraps the ankle. Oh my god. I always thought she like had it more wrapped up than what they did, but no, they didn't. Um, I must have like looked at it wrong when I first seen this. I always felt like she did like sprain her ankle worse, fake a sprain worse than what she did. I love how she's standing up, and then she puts like this stuff in Roger's drink. He drinks it. He's like, we should never been married. You know, he's coming to realize it now after he drinks this stuff she put in his drink. Cassandra writes Barnabas a note. This is a mistake. Barnabas already suspects that Cassandra is Angelique, and he's right. Um, he sees the handwriting. It's Angelique's. You know, he knows this woman's handwriting. She comes over. He plays no games with her, and he gets her to the point like, he says, no, I'm not playing. This isn't cat and mouse. And I love this because he doesn't say that, but Fred gives off that sort of vibe, and it's so great. Keep in mind too that shortly after this happens, Barnabas has been through a lot. Obviously, we know Dr. Eric Land has been introduced by this point. He's he's having Jeff Clark dig up bodies, and you know Eric Land is putting the pieces together to create what's going to be Adam. Now, if for those who aren't familiar with the Adam arc, keep in mind originally what was supposed to happen. Was basically supposed to go. His whole soul was supposed to go into the body. So now they don't stick with this, but it is mentioned, I think, twice, maybe once more. I know it's mentioned. I know it's mentioned twice for sure. I'm trying to think. I'm not too sure if it was mentioned the third time. It may have been, but it is mentioned twice. But then it changes to if Adam lit, because again they don't get Jeff Clark's face. And actually, I think it is in a sense because Barnabas tells Victoria, "I have a cousin from England who's coming. His name's Adam," and he says, "I'm going away." So right away, you know, they have Jonathan Fritz Barnabas, or not right away, but they have Jonathan Fritz Barnabas telling Vicky he's leaving and Adam will be here. Now that doesn't happen Barnabas doesn't go away. Adam does arrive. What happens is Barnabas, part of Barnabas's life force goes in him, the vampire kind. And, really, Cassandra, Angelique, whatever you want to call her at this point, she's not aware of Adam. She's not aware of what's going on there. She has been trying to kill Dr. Lane. At first, the portrait sort of not sort of, the portrait possessed Roger to get an item and of Dr. Lane's and take a doll and try to cause his head to explode. That didn't work. Then, obviously, that's returned later on. Then Angelique, as Cassandra, tries to force him to have a heart attack. Barnabas got a medallion from Professor Stokes, and he picks it up. This causes the headaches to stop, and now he's sort of realizing, okay, this woman is a witch. He come to the realization, okay, Barnabas is telling me the truth about this witchcraft stuff. Amazing, right? Man of science. That's what he is. He's a mad scientist. I love him. Addison Powell is a hell of an actor. I love the Adam arc. It's awesome. Um, what's I'm gonna get back into the marriage. Here's the thing: the marriage. We all know the marriage is a sham. Some of the marriages in Dark Shadows are shams. I mean, there's no way around that, right? But what's your favorite moments in the Adam arc? I want to know everybody's favorite moments in the Adam arc. I'll give you my top four moments. Number four is when Addison Powell's character, Dr. Lane, and Jeff Clark, Roger Davis's character at the cemetery. They're watching the guy waiting for him to leave. And then Jeff Clark quits actually on that night, which is interesting. Another one of my favorite moments is actually the introduction of Lane, which is really cool. The introduction of Lane is one of the coolest introductions in the series. It doesn't get talked about too much because this is, Addison Powell's talking to Barnabas, and Barnabas is laying in the hospital bed, and Addison Powell jerks off, opens the curtains in the sunlight, showing Barnabas, hey, now you can walk during the day. My number two favorite moment is actually Lane showing Barnabas at the body of Adam. He's looking like Barnabas is looking like, oh wow. And uh, one of my other favorite moments, my number one, is really I think you knew, sort of, at least I did, that Addison Powell's character was not going to be long for this series, that he was going to get killed off. And he's one of the victims of the dream curse, really, in many ways, I mean, in many ways, it was his fate to die. I mean, he did not live to see his experiment. Julia finishes it for him. And so it's really, again, that he makes a tape before he dies about, if Adam should live, Barnabas will no longer carry the curse, but if Adam dies, Barnabas will be like he was before, which is really interesting. Again, Addison Powell, great actor. But really, again, Here Comes the Bride. The marriage is just one big champ. Cassandra is doing everything. She unleashes this big dream curse. Cassandra / Angelique. My buddy Mark Gilman, shout out to him. He's pointed out that this, in many ways, is like Freddy Krueger. This is you could sort of look at maybe Nightmare on Elm Street got some inspiration from DS here. And I do sort of somewhat see that in here. I know it seems a little odd, but when you watch the Dream Curse, you sort of do get the sense of, okay, I get that maybe A Nightmare on Elm Street did get some inspiration from DS a bit. You could sort of make that case. Mark made a hell of a point. And really, too, about Angelique unleashing the Dream Curse. It's a hell of a thing. It's a slow burning story, but it's really amazing. And so the Dream Curse really doesn't work because by the time he gets to Barnabas, Adam's alive, Adam's around. So, and by this time, Nicholas has more than shown up. You know, he's already bailed out Angelique once by confronting the ghost of Trask. So, he again, I love Humbert Allen Ostrander's performance as Nicholas Blair. It does not get enough credit for what he was able to do. Really, again, it's not really much. This Here Comes the Bride episode isn't so much about the groom; it's more about the bride, because really the bride's in it more, and she's front and center. I mean, it's Angelique, it's Cassandra, it's whoever you want to say she is, and she's uh, she's the heel. Now, I'm gonna borrow a line from my favorite western, Once Upon a Time in the West, where Harmonica tells Frank, "You've learned some you've learned some new tricks, but you haven't given up some new tactics, but you haven't given up some of the old ones." That's Barnabas in this arc too, because there's times Barnabas is looking at it. He looks at Adam's body. He goes, "I want the face of. Could you give me the face of a face like Jeff Clark's?" And Addison Powell says, "I could do one better. I can give you the face of Jeff Clark." And Barnabas isn't arguing it at all. He's like, I'm he seemed okay with it. But man, he's a baby face, but he has heel tendencies, right? Which is great because again, he's about to fight it. He's about to take on two hefty heels, and here's Adam too. Who's not a heel, but a very, very interesting character, Robert Rodin's character. And so again, Adam's alive. Angelique is frustrated that the dream curse has not worked, and she finally learns about this whole Adam thing. That if Adam dies, Barnabas, she's like, so she puts two and two together. She has to take out Adam. Angelique gets an axe. She goes up. She's in his room, and she's ready to bring the axe down, literally. Nicholas, I love how they got Albert Allen Australia in the corner, just looking at her like he's the Rock. He's like raising the eyebrow at this point, like I can't do it. But he reminded me of the Rock in this scene. Like I swear, they needed to record Humphrey Allen Australia just saying the word jabroni. Like time, one time, he could have pulled it off too. Most likely, most definitely. But he stops her, and this is where he sort of turns her old, and she goes for Barnabas for pity, and he's like, pity, you know, if if she can get Barnabas to love her, forgive her, she'll go back. I mean, she's begging Barnabas. He's like, no, no, I can't. I've dealt with you for so long. I've lived with my curse. You killed my sister. I mean, you get Barnabas's vengeance in every way, but you get the understanding of Barnabas cannot stand Angelique. I mean, when she was standing in front of him as Cassandra, he wasn't pulling his punches, and I can't say I blame him here. I mean, he's lived with a lot of stuff from her. So I mean, Cassandra goes bye bye for for a while. They make Angelique a vampire, obviously. Diablos and Nicholas. There's a line too here way before they do this that Nicholas keeps reminding Angelique, "Hey, you, our master, we brought you back here to complete your goal." you know, that's really when you hear that, when you hear Nicholas tell her that, it's like, man, Nicholas is a powerful warlock for sure. He's a powerful dude. And when Cassandra goes bye bye, he's all too happy that because now what he does is he starts grooming Adam. He's grooming Adam to be this must man, and he sort of harasses Adam harasses Carolyn, and Carolyn's like, she tells Professor Stokes he became a man. Like I can't go back in there. But she does talk to Adam again eventually, and it's again Adam. Robert Rodan will never get enough credit for how he portrayed Adam. I mean, never. He did an amazing job. I don't want to get into too much here because I am going to cover Adam here soon. But my next villain, because I did a Here Comes the Bride, my next villain is going to be Nicholas Blair. So I'll probably cover Adam with Nicholas. Well, I will cover Adam with Nicholas completely. I know I mentioned Nicholas a bit here in this video, but I think I'll cover Adam with Nicholas. Again, no, I don't feel Adam's a villain. Adam is a character who's looking really for direction, really. And I think really Robert Rodan really takes that character in many directions. Um, Again, I don't want to get into too much 'cause I'm trying to not stop myself from talking. It's hard. It's hard when you're doing these videos. Um, but again, I want to thank everybody. Huge thank you to everybody. Hope you guys and gals have a great night. Hope you enjoy the final. Here Comes the Bride. Again, I more talked about the bride. I'll tell you what. Them meeting, their wedding, their wedding. They just show up married. They just show up married. Oh my god, I love this. Uh, Cassandra, what can I do to make have your marriage and all? Joe with the straightest face too. What a line! What a line! I wanted to get that in there before I went. That was that was just like the ultimate bitch smack verbally you could receive. Uh, oh, and speaking of bitch smack, Julia Hoffman bitch smacking Cassandra slash Angelique for putting Victoria and Barnabas through the hell she was putting them through. Good old Julia Hoffman. She just, you know what? Bam. All right, guys, girls. You guys have a great, great night. See ya. Bye.